Shalum, mashpaka. So, uh, just getting on here, want to talk about something that Yahuwah has been bringing to the forefront of my mind recently, and the tugging that I've been feeling. And first and foremost, what it is that he was highlighting wasn't anything new. It was just, I don't know if he operates in your life this way, but with me, he'll take something that I might have read in his written word multiple times, and then he'll highlight it at specific times for that to be something that I really, really pay attention to. Not that I'm not supposed to pay attention to anything else that he says, but it's like, right now, this is what I want you to pay attention to. And I praise him for that because, that's how he's leading and guiding me and growing me into the new creation that I'm meant to be in Mashiach, right? So with that being said, that is actually what he was emphasizing, that new creation, right? And when he was emphasizing the new creation, what he had me to do was, I've been feeling lately like pulling back from a lot of things. Like, I'm on Facebook and I post a lot of things about Yahuwah, what Yahuwah is speaking to me on Facebook. I have the podcast still. I don't do it I've never really had a schedule for the podcast. It's just whenever Yahuwah says something, I make an episode. But that particular podcast, he's been kind of having me pull back away from it. And he actually gave me instructions on another podcast to start. And mind you, I don't make money off of any of this stuff, you all. I don't make money off of YouTube. I don't make money on Facebook. I don't make money on Spotify. Like, this is all stuff that I'm doing unto Yahuwah. So I just want to throw that out there, and you'll never hear me ask you all for any money either, because my source is Yahuwah. And that's one of the things I want to talk about before I get into the new creation. So I actually already had recorded a testimony about Yahuwah just providing for me or whatnot. And instead of uploading it, I held it in my phone for a long time, and I just never felt like, I didn't feel at peace about putting that on there, what I had recorded. And now I understand why, because Yahuwah didn't want me there were some things on there that he wanted me to keep to myself. So now he's been showing me the things that he wants me to say versus the things that were just meant for me to keep to myself. So just the short of the testimony that I'm going to tell you is, back in 2024, I lost my job at the hotel that I was working at. And I went without seeking Yahuwah first, and I got a job. I went to a temp agency, and I got a job at a hospital. It was a very good job. It was in medical records. And they wanted me to stay. I was only supposed to be there for a certain amount of time, but they wanted me to stay. The CFO asked me to stay on because I was doing such a great job. And this is no lie. Like, if I'm lying, please let Yahuwah strike me down right now and this recording end. But, the CFO even wanted me to stay. But with that being said, Yahuwah told me no. And then he spoke specifically to me and said, do not rely on Babylon any longer. So he told me not to pursue unemployment from the job that I had gotten fired from, because I had been there long enough to receive unemployment. He also told me not to seek food stamps, basically no government assistance, food stamps, Section 8, child support, like none of that stuff. And then what he specifically said to me was, I am your provider and I will take care of all of your need. Notice I said need, not want. Yes, would I like to go on vacation and go and do this, that, and the other? Yes. He's not supplying that for me. He's supplying my need: food, shelter, clothing. And then whatever pops up. Like, I had issues with my car earlier this year, and Yahuwah used 3 different people to pay for those issues. Now, normally the issues with the vehicle, and it was with my AC. And, this has been a very hot, summer. And prior to it getting extremely hot, we had been having a lot of storms. So I was able to get by driving around with my windows down, because it was kind of breezy where I am. But then right around the time that it just started getting unbearably hot, Yahuwah used, someone to have my AC fixed. I don't even know if you could hear it blowing because I'm sitting in my car recording this. You could hear it blowing in the background. So with that being said, that's Yahuwah took care of that. Yahuwah has been using someone else to pay my car note. I pay my car insurance, and then randomly, well, not randomly, but then another person told me, I heard a voice tell me to sow into you. Now, mind you, the other part of what Yahuwah told me was, don't ask for help. So I'm not allowed to ask anybody for help. I'm not allowed to seek Babylonian assistance, the government's assistance at all. I am to rely on Yahuwah and Yahuwah alone. And he told me, if you don't have it, it's because I didn't ordain for you to have it. So that is the thing that I have to hold on to in this season. So the good thing about that was trying to get out here and say what Yahuwah wants me to say and walk how Yahuwah wants me to walk, and then going to work, coming home, having to homeschool my son, having to, deal with other family members and so on and so forth. It had become kind of overwhelming for me because I'm typically a person that likes to be alone. That's how I collect myself, is in solitude. And I know the society has taught us that when a person likes to be alone, it's because they're depressed. No, there are some people that enjoy their solitude, and I am one of those people. But Yahuwah has put me in a place for the past 2 years where, well, actually longer than that, where I do not have solitude. Matter of fact, since about the end of 2021, Babylonian year 2021. So I have just kind of been slowly feeling myself wanting to scream, because I do not like to constantly have somebody in my face. But anyway, that's off subject. With that being said, Yahuwah gave me that break by taking my job away from me and allowing me to just focus on the things that he has me doing. Homeschooling my son is one of those things. And praise Yah, because I remember there was this horrible thunderstorm that came up in the middle. Well, it was going into the middle of the night, and my son was up, and he is terrified of storms, but the thunder did sound kind of ferocious. And this little boy, without my prompting, started praying to Yahuwah, to keep us safe and all this other stuff. And I promise you, that thunderstorm died down instantly. And I was like, praise Yah. So I do thank Yahuwah for the time that he's given me with my son to be able to teach him. And then Yahuwah has been the one that's been sustaining me. So recently, I've been feeling him tugging me towards him. And he had me go back through some of my old YouTube videos. And I realized that you can hear me going back and forth between different names and so on and so forth. But there was one video in particular that I came on and I said, hey, Yahuwah wants me to be silent for a little bit. I don't know when I'm going to be back on here. And Yahuwah was pulling me towards him. He had told me to come walk with him, which when he says come walk with me, I always know he's about to show me some things that, he's about to give me more wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, more of his wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. So after that particular video, I noticed that I never toggled between the names again, because one of the things that he did show me in my absence from social media was who he is for sure. And he told me, do not sway from that, because if I sway from that with him having told me, that makes me a false witness. So I have to stand 10 toes down on what he told me. So with that being said, I'm feeling that again. I'm feeling very withdrawn from everything, from people, places, and all that other stuff. Not in a depressive way, but in a tugging of the heart type of way. And one of the things, getting back onto the new creation thing that Yahuwah has been highlighting to me. Again, this is not anything that's new. It's just something that he's emphasizing to me right now. So, and he made it make even more sense, right? So when he makes us into a new creation, he changes our language because we start to speak like him. He does not speak like we do. He changes our mindset. He changes our heart because we no longer have a heart of stone, but he gives us a heart of flesh, so that our heart will be pliable to him and his moving. He changes a lot of things about us. He gives us sight, so now we see things differently. He gives us hearing, so now we hear things differently. We no longer are plagued by the deaf and dumb spirit, the deaf and dumb ruach. And so We hear and see differently. And because he gives us a heart of flesh that's pliable to his leading and his guiding and his unction, now we're able, and he gives us a new mind, now we're able, by him putting the testimony of his son, Yahushua HaMashiach, in our heart, which is the Ark of the Covenant, by him doing that, now we're able to meditate on his word, who is Yahusha, day and night. And then we're able to speak differently. We're speaking the way someone set apart, the way Yahuwah speaks. You know what I'm saying? We're not speaking the way the world speaks. We're speaking life. We're not speaking death anymore, because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, or the lips speak, right? So he's giving us the things to speak by putting the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach in our in our heart. And with that being said, the emphasis was just on how he just keeps saying, be set apart, be set apart. That's what I keep hearing him say. Now, he's not saying it like, be set apart. He's just gently, every once in a while, be set apart. So there's been times where I have seen, peers and all the other stuff moving in a certain way that I may not have felt like it was, any harm to how they were moving. And I just keep hearing him say, be set apart, and feeling him tug on me and saying, don't do that. That's not for you. And this is why we should always be led by Ruach HaKodesh, because there are some things that he will, basically my convictions, all of my convictions are not everybody else's convictions. For instance, he told me not to drink any alcohol ever. Like, I cannot drink alcohol. That doesn't mean he won't let some of y'all drink wine. You feel me? Drunkenness is the thing that we are to avoid. So I can't tell you 100% don't drink alcohol, because I don't know what he's speaking to you. But I know for me, I can't drink. So that's what I mean by not everything that he's saying to me pertains to everyone else. Now, the things that do pertain to all of us are things like, if a prophet comes on here prophesying, but then they're trying to get you to worship other Elohim, we know that we're not supposed to follow after them. Like, that's something that is for everybody. Don't practice divination. Don't practice witchcraft. Like, all that stuff, we know. Don't consult mediums. We know that pertains to all of Yasharal. Right? So if I'm ever led to say something like that, we know that that's for everybody. But again, so I just feel him pulling and tugging. And what he did say that there are children that he's pulling on right now. It's not just me. I'm not that important. But he's pulling on a lot of our hearts to draw nigh unto him right now. And there's a necessity for it, because the way things are going right now, like, it seems like things are bad. It's about to get extremely bad. And we are supposed to endure all of this stuff. You cannot endure all of this stuff being engulfed in it. You have to be set apart from it. Talking to Yahuwah every day, reading his word, speaking to him, listening to him. Like, when you wake up, now this is for everybody. When you wake up, ask him what he wants you to do for that day. And whatever it is, get it done. That needs to be a way of life for all of his children right now. Because, again, what he's been showing me is, it's hard to explain, but I keep seeing myself, and I'm only using myself because this is what he's been showing me. I'm not saying I'm the only one that's going to be doing it. I'm not trying to do something like that, but he's showing me because he's talking to me. But he keeps showing me walking in a way like I have this vision of myself kind of like glowing and walking through chaos unbothered. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's chaos going on all around me, but I'm walking with a smile on my face, glowing. And what he was talking to me about, as far as that is concerned, is he's saying we are to be new creations. That new creation is someone who is not worried about what's going on in Russia, someone who's not worried about what's going on with the finance, the stock markets and all the other stuff. Somebody who's not worried about what's going on with these viruses. Now, yes, These things are happening as signs for us to be aware of the fact that our King Yahushua HaMashiach is returning. But he's talking about being worried about these things. We are not supposed to walk in a way that these things are moving us to go outside of his will and take matters into our own hands, because he has already told us that he will direct our paths. He's already told us that. He told us to lean not to our own understanding, and in all of our ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct our paths. That's what Yahuwah told us. And that word stands true to this day. So, yes, that tugging, that pulling, what he said to me specifically was, it's going to be necessary, because the things that's coming, the new viruses, the new, the inflation, the extreme inflation, the food recalls, all that stuff, the economic collapse, all that stuff. He's saying that that's going to shake some people if they're not in his face every day, all day. It's going to shake you if you do not have your feet planted firmly on Yahushua HaMashiach, who is the rock of salvation. So you can see and hear these things, but he's saying pull out of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Pull out of it. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of at least the movie Sinners. I haven't watched it. Yahuwah has put it strong on my heart. He said, do not. I know somebody very close to me that went and watched it, and they were telling me, oh, it was a really good movie. And they were trying not to give me spoilers. And I told them, I said, you can give me spoilers because I'm not going to watch it. It's like Yahuwah has really been like, do not watch that. So the confirmation that Yahuwah gave me about not watching it was randomly, I was on Facebook and somebody had posted a video with Michael B. Jordan that he was telling the interviewer that he was a babalawu. I pray I'm saying that right, but a babalawu. So I went and looked it up. That is a priest in the Ifa religion. Ifa is where voodoo stems from. So it's safe to say that he is a voodoo priest. Now, again, Michael B. Jordan said this out of his own mouth. So this is not a speculative thing. This is not an article that I read somewhere where the person could have misunderstood him. Like, he said it. I saw his face, his mouth moving, and I do understand we have technology with deep fakes. But if it was a deep fake, it was a very good deep fake because his mouth went along with the words that I heard. So I'll give you that disclaimer. But he admitted that he is a voodoo priest. And he is the star of the movie Sinners. So what Yahuwah was saying to me was, because I know I was led to put up a message talking about, be careful what you're eating spiritually. And that didn't go over well with some people. But you know what? I'm not here to please people. I'm here to say what Yahuwah told me to say. With that being said, what Yahuwah said to me was, he said, do you not think that there were rituals performed in the movie and prayers, because witches do not call their spells, they call them prayers. Same thing with, these priests and priestesses and these demonic religions. They don't call them what they truly are. They call them prayers. So he said, do you not think that they prayed over that production for it to be successful, for many people to, to just be drawn to it and all that other stuff? He said that there was things placed on that. So when people watch it, they are inviting things into their ruach unaware. Same thing with YouTube videos. Like I don't even get on YouTube and watch videos. I have tried to find videos of other people talking about Yahuwah. And if Yahuwah shows me, like, this is how he has me in this season. I don't know how he has anybody else, but if Yahuwah shows me that this person has too much leaven in the message that they're saying, he tells me, turn it off. Now, here's the thing. We're all learning and growing. So he'll show me if it's somebody that is a babe or somebody that really truly has a heart for him. But it's few and far between that he'll even allow me to watch on YouTube. I used to watch other videos on YouTube, and he told me the same thing that he's telling me about sinners. He was like, that person is praying over those videos. Stop. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but Yahuwah does. He knows what's going on behind the scenes. And the thing about it is, it's not about being afraid. It's about being wise. Yahuwah gives us wisdom. And if he's seeing something being done, and then he says, don't do it, and then you say, oh, well, I'm going to do it anyway, you're going to suffer the consequences of whatever it is that comes your way, because he told you, stop. Don't do that. We're supposed to walk circumspect before Yahuwah at all times. And we're supposed to be led and guided by Yahusha at all times. Yahusha is the cloud by day and the fire, the pillar of fire by night. That's Yahusha. He leads and guides us everywhere. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can find this real quick. I know it's in Deuteronomy chapter 1. And it just stood out to me the other day. Let's see. I want to say starting in verse 32. Let me start in verse 30. It says, Yahuwah Eluah, which goes before you, he shall fight for you according to all that he did for you in Mitzrayim before your eyes, and in the wilderness where you have seen how that Yahuwah Eluah bore you as a man bears his son in all the way that you went. So Yahuwah bore our ancestors in all of the way that they went until you came into this place. Yet in this thing you did not believe Yahuwah Eluah, who went in the way before you to search you out a place to pitch your tents in fire by night, to show you by what way you should go, and in a cloud by day. That's Yahusha, you all. That's Yahusha. And Yahuwah heard the voice of your words and was wroth and swore 7 oaths. And I'm not going to continue, but you can continue in Deuteronomy. Read the whole chapter. I always say read the whole chapter. But I said all that to say Yahuwah was just showing me, like, we are to go where Yahusha leads and leave when Yahuwah says. Period. And if Yahuwah is telling you to come up out of stuff, didn't he say, come up out of her, my people? Come up out of Babylon, my people? Didn't he tell us to come up out of Babylon? So with that being said, you know, I have had somebody tell me it was fear-mongering. Now, mind you, I didn't take none of that to heart, because the other things they were saying wasn't true. Because they accused me of being the type of mother that would tell my son to walk in fear, and I've never done that. I've done the opposite of that. So I knew it wasn't Ruach HaKodesh, so there was no need for me to sit and be upset by that. If a person is speaking words to you, and you know that it's not true, because you know what you do behind closed doors, there's no need to be upset with a person, and there's no need to have any of that going on, because you already know that's not Ruach HaKodesh. These unclean Ruachs are not all-knowing. Ruach HaKodesh, the spirit of Yahuwah, is. So with that being said, you just keep it moving. So because I tell my son all the time, you need to stop being afraid of these things, because he's 9. So, you know, dark shadows and all this other stuff, he's scared of that type of stuff. What 9-year-old isn't? Most 9-year-olds are. But I tell him, the more you're afraid of that type of stuff, the more you're feeding it, the more it's going to be here. We aren't supposed to walk in fear, but we are supposed to walk in obedience. And when Yahuwah tells you to leave, leave. Do not stick around. It reminds me of that prophet. And it never gave his name, but it was a prophet that was supposed to, and I can't remember the king, so I apologize. But it was a king that he was supposed to go and deliver a message to. And Yahuwah told him, when, you know, don't stay there and eat and drink. Gone somewhere. So he gave the message. The king received it, and then when he was about to leave, another older prophet came to him and was like, yo, you need to come to my house and eat and drink with me. And mind you, it mentions something about this prophet, this older prophet, kind of feeling some type of way about the younger prophet, kind of like a jealousy type thing. So with that being said, went and gave instruction to this other prophet about, you come back to my house and you eat and drink with me. And the younger prophet was like, nah, I was told not to do that. Yahuwah told me not to do that. And then the older prophet lied and said, no, Yahuwah said that it would be okay. And instead of the younger prophets sticking to what they remember Yahuwah telling them specifically, they went back to the older prophet's home, and they ate with the older prophet and drank with the older prophet. And then when they went to leave, they were devoured by a lion on the path. And then the older prophet buried this younger prophet, in one of the tombs that he had. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very important that when Yahuwah gives us instruction, we don't deviate from that instruction. We do it how, when, where, to whom, whatever his instructions were, we do that to the T. We do not deviate from that at all, because it's a reason why he told it to us in that way. So being this new creation, he was just, again, talking to, like, speak life. So speaking life is you testifying of Yahushua HaMashiach, who is the life. Us giving the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach. We are witnesses to Yahushua HaMashiach. Right? So we have a new language. Because the world is not out here testifying of Yahushua HaMashiach. Their language is different. Their language is that of Babel. So they are going to worship and testify of all the fallen angels that have influenced them. That's not our speech, though. Our minds are different. Yahuwah said he'll keep in perfect peace he whose mind is stayed on him. So now we're having peace in the midst of storms because our minds are stayed on Yahusha. Our minds are stayed on Yahuwah. You know what I'm saying? So we're not thinking the same way the world is. We're not speaking the same way the world is, which means we're not moving the same way the world is. The world would tell me in my financial situation, oh, you need to go do this, that, and the other. You need da-da-da-da-da. But Yahuwah said, nah, I got you. And has. It's been over a year without me having a job. Now, I'm not going to lie and say that it's not hard, because I am somebody with a very strong work ethic. One thing that none of my bosses have ever complained to me about in my entire history of working is my work ethic. I'm the type of person that shows up on time. I do my work and I leave when I'm supposed to. And I usually wind up being put in a position to train other people to do the same job or other jobs. I usually know how to do not just my job, but managerial jobs and other people's jobs as well, because that's who Yahuwah made me to be. So with that being said, now they might complain about my mouth because I don't go off on people, but I'm a very direct person. That's just how that's how my brain operates. If there's something that needs to be said, I just say it. And I know some people be like, well, that's tactless. You gotta know. That's how Yahuwah created me to be. There's no need to beat around the bush, because not everybody picks up on hints like other people do. I don't pick up on hints. If you hint around with me about something, I'm in my mind, you're not talking to me about nothing. You might be talking about something, but I'm not going to put two and two together in my brain that it's meant for me, because you didn't specifically say it was meant for me. That's how my brain functions. So I speak directly to people so they understand there's no misunderstanding in what it is that I'm saying. But I'm getting off. So yes, this new creation, there's a need for us to start walking as these new creations and stop being caught up in the fall of Babylon. And to understand our speech is different, our sight is different, our hearing is different, our minds are different, our actions are different. Yah's kingdom come. Yahuwah's kingdom come. There's something else that I don't want to forget to mention. So I think I've said this on other videos before about how Yahuwah will have me read a book, right? In the Bible. He'll have me read a book all the way through. Every day I get up and I'll read the next chapter, and then it'll come to a point where he'll, when I get back to the first chapter, he'll have me read that for a few days or however long it is for him. And then when he releases me, then I can go to the second chapter, and then I read that for however long he has me reading it, and then I go to the third chapter, and so on and so forth. So right now he has me doing that. I'm in 7 different books, and he has me doing that I'm in the first chapter of all 7 books. Now, mind you, all 7 of these books I have read through multiple times, and now he has paused me and he's having me slowly go through each chapter. And right now I'm in the first chapter of these books. So one of the things that he was showing me, he kept pointing out judgment to me. So going back to Deuteronomy chapter 1, or just going to Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 17. This is Masha talking to Yasharal. And this is after Masha was saying, like, Masha's basically doing like a recap of everything that he was told to do, so on and so forth. So verse 17 says, you shall not respect persons in judgment, but you shall hear. Actually, should I go back up? Let me go to 16 first. And I charged your judges. So these are people specifically that have been set apart to be judges in Yasharal. And I charged your judges at that time, saying, hear the causes between your brethren, and judge righteously between every man and his brother, and the stranger that is with him. You shall not respect persons in judgment, but you shall hear the small as well as the great. You should not be afraid of the face of man, for judgment is Yahuwah's, and the cause that is too hard for you, bring it unto me, and I will hear it. So Jeremiah chapter 1 is also one of the books that I'm in. And of course I'm in chapter 1 because, like I just said, verse 17 again in Jeremiah, this is Yahuwah speaking specifically to Jeremiah. You therefore gird up your loins and arise and speak unto them all that I command you. Be not dismayed at their faces, lest I confound you before them. So, first and foremost, both of those verses were talking about not being afraid of men in their faces, right? But he's also saying, you therefore gird up your loins and arise and speak unto them all that I command you. So, you are judging righteously according to what Yahuwah has spoken. Because going back to Deuteronomy 1 and 17, for the judgment is Yahuwah's, is what it says in that verse. And that reminds me of what Yahusha said in John chapter 8. And please give me a second because I don't remember exactly where it was that it said it. I think it's verse 16. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true, for I am not alone, but I and the Father that sent me. Also chapter 5 of John. Let's see. Starting at verse 22. For the Father judges no man, but has committed all judgment unto the Son, that all men should honor the Son, even as they honor the Father. He that honors not the Son honors not the Father which has sent him. Aman, aman, I say unto you, he that hears my word and believes on him that sent me has everlasting life, and shall not come into condemnation, but is passed from death unto life. Aman, aman, I say unto you, the hour is coming, and now is, when the dead shall hear the voice of the Son of Yahuwah, and they that hear shall live. For as the Father has life in himself, so has he given to the Son to have life in himself. And he has given him authority to execute judgment also, because he is the son of Adam. Marvel not at this, for the hour is coming, in the which all that are in the grave shall hear his voice, and shall come forth, they that have done good unto the resurrection of life, and they that have done evil unto the resurrection of damnation. I can of my own self do nothing. As I hear, I judge, and my judgment is just, because I seek not my own will, but the will of the Father which has sent me. So Yahusha is even letting you know that his judgment is not his own. Yes, he has been given the authority to judge by Yahuwah, but he's letting you know that his judgment is not his own. His judgment is according to what he has heard the Father say. And his judgment is just because he's seeking Yahuwah's will and not his own. So again, going back to what Deuteronomy 1 and 17 is saying, for the judgment is Yahuwah's. Yahusha reiterated that to the Israelites back then when he was speaking, and to us now. So, and I don't have it pulled up in front of me, so I don't remember what it says off the top of my head. But if you have an apocrypha, if you go to the Wisdom of Solomon, I'm in the Wisdom of Solomon, and it's the first 2 verses, I want to say, but it talks about having righteousness in your judgment, right? I want to say it even goes so far to say that if you don't judge righteously, you don't love Yahuwah. So again, Yahuwah, and forgive me if I got that part wrong. That's just what I'm remembering. But again, I don't have it in front of me right now. And that's one of the books that I'm not really that familiar with. So it's not in me the way it needs to be, but it will be, because Yahuwah is started to slowly take me through it. So eventually what he said in the Wisdom of Solomon will be engraved in me. It will be cultivated into my heart, and I'll be able to speak on it more. I'll speak on it better in the future. So just be patient. But again, the emphasis that he has given me is on righteous judgment. And he keeps talking about judging righteously, judging righteously, judging righteously. So, and we know that is something that we're all supposed to be doing, judging righteously. We're not supposed to be respecter of persons. And I'm not going to assume everybody knows what that means. So I'll give an example. If you and your wife, for instance, you and your wife both come into the truth, or you and your husband, if you're a woman, both come into the truth, and you see your spouse straying from the truth, and maybe they're a leader in one of the assemblies that you're in, you see them straying from the truth, and you say something and they don't listen. We are supposed to, even with our spouse, handle that situation the same way we would handle anybody else according to Yahuwah's word. However it is Yahuwah would tell you to handle that situation with someone you don't know that well, or somebody that's not related to you, you're supposed to handle that with your spouse as well. Just because they're your spouse does not mean that you're supposed to just walk in disobedience in disobedience or unrighteousness with them because you're married to them. That's not how things work. Or if it's your child. We're not supposed to be a respecter of persons. My father is an awakened Israelite, and he'll agree with me on this. Me and him do not just go along with everything that each other says. We correct each other when one of us is not walking correctly, or saying something that's contrary to the word, but it sounds like the word, but it's contrary because you can disprove it someplace else in Yahuwah's word. We correct each other. We don't just go along because that's my dad and I'm his daughter. That's probably the example that I should have given. But anyway, so yeah, that's what Yahuwah means by not being a respecter of persons. Or if that person has authority in the group, you just allow them to get away with unrighteousness because you're banking on them recognizing you and then promoting you into a place of authority based off of their current position. So you ignore things. That is being a respecter of persons. Or if you're overly compassionate towards people that are poor, not realizing there are people that have money that are also walking in righteousness, that is also being a respecter of persons. So we're just supposed to judge a tree by its fruit. That's it. It doesn't matter what the tree has going on outside of what fruit is it producing. And then that's how we're supposed to tell if it's a bad tree or a good tree. That's it. Hallelujah. This is way longer than it needed to be. I apologize. But I love you all, as always. And I do pray that Yahuwah keep you in your minds and in your hearts. It's never my prayer for anybody to succumb to their own desires and become reprobated. So I do pray that Yahuwah does not allow you to become reprobates or become part of the apostate assembly. And that's a prayer I say for myself all the time as well. But I want to see my brothers and sisters. I want to make it into Yahuwah's kingdom, and I want to see my brothers and sisters in Yahuwah's kingdom. And that's y'all. All right. I might not know any of y'all personally. Some of y'all I do. Some of y'all I've never seen your faces before. But I definitely want to see your face in the renewed Jerusalem. So, may Yahuwah Baruch you. I pala for you. Much ahabah and shalom.